Hey guys, so I recently upgraded all my computer parts and I thought maybe I should upgrade my monitor as well. It's kind of been a long time since I ever really upgraded my monitor to something that was special. I always just go for the most FPS. The last monitor I bought was a Zowie 240 Hertz. It was this one, I'm putting it here. That was a monitor I upgraded from, and I have some videos of it here. It was a really solid monitor. However, it definitely did have its flaws. The fact that it was $500 or 240 Hertz at the time I bought it. I mean, at the time 240 Hertz was the fastest you could get, but now we're going to 540, 600 Hertz. However, I was using a 1080p monitor. I know a lot of people still use 1080p, and it's nothing wrong with using 1080p. I just thought, you know, I built such a powerful computer. I have a 5080 in here. Maybe I should use 1440p. So after researching a bit, I decided on this monitor that we're using right now. And you've seen it's a little bit different from my last video, one of the first videos I ever made on this channel. This is a Asus 27-inch, 480 Hertz, 1440p OLED monitor. It is an insane monitor. This is the monitor, what it's called. I can't name it off the top of my head because these are just a bunch of, it's like someone ran over the keyboard and just made a random fucking name for the monitor, but I'm just calling it that, the Asus 27-inch, 40 Hertz, 1440p monitor. It's amazing, and I want to talk about it right now. I made a lot of reviews recently. I might as well talk about my monitor. So just a little bit of background information. I did come from a 1080p TN panel with 240 Hertz. So to upgrade to 1440p OLED, which is 27 inches, because my old one was also 25 inches. It was a significant upgrade in a lot of ways. It's bigger, it was faster, it was better looking, and let's just talk about it one by one. So let's first off talk about OLED. I came from TN, which is arguably a really fast panel, and it's super fast, and that's the reason why a lot of people, and it's fast, and that's why all the pros use TN still with Zowie. I mean, it's arguably still not a bad technology if you just want the fastest. However, OLED is also really fast, if not the fastest, I believe. However, it is definitely more expensive. But the thing about OLED is that it is way better looking than TN panels by a mile. If you don't know how OLED works, there is no backlight for OLED. It's just each individual pixel lights up on its own. That's why they can turn off each pixel for the blacks. So the true blacks are just off pixels, and it looks really great. If you didn't know that TN panels have really horrible viewing angles as well, OLED doesn't have that problem. I think 270-degree viewing angle, I believe. It's good at every single angle. It looks great. I've been watching some videos on it. I've been playing with it. I've been playing the new Doom on it, and it's, oh my God, the colors pop. And with the 480 Hertz, it's just super smooth. It's just an amazing experience. Especially when you turn all your settings up, this monitor makes the best out of your game. And you don't really understand how great OLED looks until you compare it to your old stuff. And I'm telling you, the TN would definitely not do the game justice like this did. Another drawback with OLED is that it's not very bright. So here are the negatives of OLED, is that there's burn-in, and then the brightness is just not as good. Let's talk about the brightness first. Brightness, I always play this at about 90%. Right now, this is about 10% so that the camera can capture it. Most of the time, I play about 90%. Because it's not very bright. It's bright enough, and I do like a bright monitor. And I think I used to play at about 70 on my Zowie, and I'm playing about 90% on this. I think they're about comparable-ish in terms of brightness, but you know, it's definitely not gonna be as bright as a TN or IPS, so that is something to keep aware of if you do play in a really bright room. However, you shouldn't. It's just better in a darker room anyway for it to brighten up. Another thing, again, is the burn-in. That seems to be a big problem with OLED. A lot of people were scared about this burn-in effect. And honestly, in the last couple of years, OLED has just been such a good technology that I have not really heard much about burn-in personally. And there's pixel cleaning on this that keeps asking you and bugging you to do it. And I do it, and so far there's absolutely no problems. It's been like a month, absolutely no burn-in yet. And it just, again, looks amazing. And I've been running the same thing, and they have like a lot of inbuilt technologies on how to clear it and how to do this stuff. And so far, no problems with OLED. It's been great. Now, let's talk about the 1440p from 1080p. That is a huge jump that I didn't really understand until I did it. I think that is the biggest jump out of all this monitor compared to OLED. And I argue the 1440p jump was way more important than the 240 to 480 Hertz jump, which I'll get to in a second. But 1440p just makes every single thing clearer. And especially when you're on a bigger monitor, it's kind of more important that they're clearer. But I mean, almost double the pixels. I mean, I think it's 1.5 times the pixels on Quad HD. You can definitely notice it when you're playing Valorant, for example, because when I was playing Valorant, it'd be way easier to see targets like really small compared to when I was playing on a 1080p monitor. They'd be just super blurry. It's way more clear here. Whether or not that's an actual tactical advantage because of, you know, or pay to win advantage because you have a clear monitor is in the air. because you do see them. It's just a lot more clear on this monitor, and for that reason I do think it is somewhat of a competitive edge. It's just also just a better experience to play on this monitor because of that extra detail, and who wouldn't want extra detail in the video games. 1440p is harder to run than 1080p, that is for sure, but if you have a good enough graphics card, the difference is not that much worse. It's about maybe a 10% decrease in performance compared to like jumping to 1080 to 4K, which is like maybe a 30 to 40% decrease in performance, and I'm talking like a lot in 4K. 4040p is definitely runnable. I have it 5080 right now, and I went from 1080p to 4040p. My frame rates are still very, very close. They're not super, super bad. They're still very easily, and every game that was on 1080p is super, super playable on 4040p. So I've had no worries about jumping as long as you know that your graphics card can actually handle 4040p. It's a great transition. Now, the 240 hertz to 40 hertz was the one I actually really wanted to buy this monitor for. In my head, 480 hertz just sounds like heaven because it's double the speed of 240. But the truth is, as a guy who also just loves playing 240 hertz, I'm surprised to say that I don't see that much of a difference. And I know that's kind of crazy of me to say because I'm a guy who can tell a difference between 240 and 144 almost instantly. 480 isn't that big of a jump as I thought it might be. I know a lot of people are saying 540 hertz was insane compared to 240, and it's probably true. However, maybe because I don't play any game other than Valorant at that full 480 hertz all the time. Like Marvel Rivals, I'm not playing at full 480 all the time. I'm playing about 300 unless I turn on the multi-frame gen. So I don't really notice it that much. However, does it feel smoother than 240 when I do notice it? It definitely does. It definitely does make a difference. It's just how much of that difference is worth the price tag of about $1,000, by the way, if you didn't know the monitor is $1,000. So it begs the question of what 480 hertz is worth it to you or not, and there is a model that Asus makes that is just the exact same monitor, but 240 hertz. And I'd argue that 144 to 240 is a bigger jump than 240 to 480, in my opinion, at least so far that I've tried. Because I think 240 is way smoother than 144. However, I don't think 480 feels that much smoother than 240, which is weird to say. It just is. I think it just, at that point, you're really counting the pixels. And again, I don't think any of the reasons I played better of the 480 hertz, I think it's mostly just because of the 1440p. Everything's just way smoother and way clearer. I just think everything looked visually more detailed. So yeah, I think the 1440p mattered more. So other than the main three things, let's talk about the size of the monitor being 27 inches. I'm also coming from 25 inches. I thought that'd be a really, really hard thing to get used to. And I know there's some settings here you can change to make it 27 inches blacked out so you could get the 25-inch experience on a 27-inch screen, but honestly 27 inches isn't as big as I thought it might be. It's definitely bigger, but it's not like horribly big that I think, like, you know, 32 inches might, I think 32 inches might have been way too big, but this is a fine screen. 27 inches is not that big, and I think it's super nice to have this size for productivity. When I was editing videos, when I was just doing my homework, split screening stuff, it looked a lot better because it's also 1440p. It felt much bigger for such a small change in dimensions, but it just, for productivity, it was awesome. And I think for gaming, it's still fine. I don't think it would make my experience much worse. Although yes, I still do prefer a smaller screen for gaming. But for productivity, it's honestly, that was such a worth the upgrade for that reason alone. There is good I/O in this. There at least is a 3.5mm head jack for just your audio if you do like plugging it straight into the monitor like I do. There's USB-A's on it. There's also I think 1 or 2 display ports. And for the stand, the most important thing about the stand is the size. And holy shit, this stand is gigantic. It is fucking huge. I mean, I'm talking about, I live in a dorm where my table isn't even that big, and I had to put this off my table, use my window as part of the way to support this stand. It's just gigantic. However, the fact that it's gigantic is made up for the fact that this is arguably one of the most flexible and nicely designed stands, for a good reason. It's like super modular, like it goes up and down, it bends up, left, right. You can swivel on it. There's even some built-in cable management. The navigation buttons for navigating the menus on this on-screen display. And there's even a really cool gamer light thing that's pretty sick in theory. I think it's a cool idea. The problem is it becomes really tacky. I do think it's cool, but I just turn it off. It's just not really worth the distraction for me. But overall, I really like the design. There's even RGB on the back of the screen with the ROG logo, and that one is actually really cool. You can customize it a little bit with the light aura, I believe, with the ROG software maybe. Not really sure if you can customize it to whatever you want, but I don't really touch it. I like the fact that it's like kind of out of the way. I don't really have to worry about it. Everyone's buying the monitor for the screen, not the design behind the screen. So, but if you do want to know that your monitor looks cool, it does look pretty cool. Overall, is this monitor worth $1,000? Kinda. Okay, the way I see this monitor is that you're not gonna upgrade for a bit. I mean, it's 1440p, so it's gonna beat the standard time for a bit until 1440p becomes standard and beats 1080p, which I don't think is gonna happen for maybe 10 years, maybe, or ever. 480 hertz, I mean, not many games can even run 40 hertz, so you're kind of future-proof there. OLED is just the only thing that might be worrying in the long run, because I'm not sure how long this could go without OLED burns. I haven't really seen that much personally. People complain about OLEDs burning on the new monitors, like as of right now. But you know, maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, you might see some burn-in. By then, maybe it's worth swapping out anyway, just because of the new technologies. And hopefully by then, OLEDs are way cheaper. But for now, if you really want OLED, and you want 480 hertz, you want 1440p, and you just want one singular monitor to do productivity and entertainment and gaming, this monitor is awesome for that. However, if you really want this monitor and don't mind the drop in 480 hertz to 240 hertz, I think that's a much better buy. Just because of the price cut specifically, I think it's like $600 or $500 you can find on Facebook Marketplace or something. The 240 hertz version is really, really good because it's the same thing almost, just with a slower frame rate. But again, I think most people aren't even gonna hit 40 hertz. So you might as well just hit it with 240 hertz and be okay with that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I hope you learned something new today, or just like checking out this monitor, or maybe you are thinking about upgrading your monitor now. It's a pretty sick monitor. It's definitely been a game changer in my life. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and like and follow for more.